What's going on, world of YouTube? It's Anubreed coming back at you one more time. And for today, the topic is going to be solar panels. So we're going to go ahead and I want to sit down and discuss different types of solar panels, what could possibly fit your needs, and the differences, the pros, the cons, the good and the bad. And hopefully, if you decide to go solar, what'll fit your needs in an SHTF situation. So let's go ahead and let's get it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by explaining the three different types of solar panels that you'll find. You'll find monocrystalline, polycrystalline, and thin film. We'll go over the advantages and disadvantages of each one, so ultimately we can suit your needs. So let's go ahead and we're going to get started, and we're going to start off with monocrystalline. Now, monocrystalline panels. Now, as the name suggests, monocrystalline solar panels are mono, which is single or singular. Now, they're called monocrystalline because they're one single continual crystal structure. Now, you'll generally notice they have a single flat color and they're black. The reason why they're black is the way that the sun interacts with the color. But sometimes you'll find them in different shades and a lot of different frames and variations. Now, monocrystalline is one of the oldest, but being the oldest, don't knock it because it's one of the most developed of the three technologies. Now, generally, they're pretty sleek, simple, have a really nice look. On average, you'll find that your monocrystalline, your polycrystalline, they weigh about the same. Now, the advantages is the monocrystalline has the highest efficiency, generally ranging between 50 to 22.5, which is actually wonderful. They're space efficient. They have the longest lifespan of the three thus far with the technology that we have. And they tend to be more efficient in hot weather because the weather, the sun, how hot they get, they can actually change what's being pulled in. But the only disadvantages you'll find is they're generally more expensive than the others. Now, next up at bat is you can tell there's a visual difference. These are polycrystalline. Now, poly, plural. Now, polycrystalline, it's a relatively new technology. And when I say new, I'm meaning 1980s. So the overall, span, they're not as old as the monocrystalline. Now, the polycrystalline panels start as a silicone crystal seed, So basically, them rather being one whole piece dipped in the vat and then allowed to cool, well, these have different edges and grains in the solar cell. These are a little less efficient, but they're pretty close, and they're getting better with time. Now, we're going to go over the advantages. The advantages, they're simpler to make, they cost less, they have a higher temperature coefficient. Now, I really might need to break down the coefficient part. Let me get on that. Now, the temperature coefficient, basically what that means is it's the percentage of power output that is lost by any type of solar panel, whether it be monocrystalline, polycrystalline, or thin film, as the temperature rises above 77 degrees Fahrenheit. So there is a loss in power depending on the temperature and how hot these panels get. Just so you know what temperature coefficient means. Now, let's get to the honest disadvantages. Now, as far as the efficiency, they're not as high as the monocrystalline. These generally tend to be around 14 to 16% efficient. Now, with that, you have a lower space efficiency because they have to take up more room in order to produce the same amount of energy as a monocrystalline. And overall, depending on how you like the look, they're not technically, from my perspective, as aesthetically pleasing as your monocrystalline black panels. Now in a SHTF situation, that really doesn't matter, but if you're going to be putting them on the roof of your house, of course you want something that looks, aesthetically pleasing. But other than that, they both will work to get the job done. It's just which one is more efficient when you're going to be on the run, on the move, trying to charge up your solar batteries or your anything else you're trying to use. Now, last but not least, thin film solar panels. Now, these are different than both monocrystalline and polycrystalline. Now, thin film is the newest of the technologies. This is kind of idea for, areas where you're going to have shade issues or something that requires a little more space. But once again, in a stuff hit the fan situation, you got to get light where you can get light. Now, these are flexible. They bend, they flex, they can move, not as easy to break. They have high durability, but way less efficient than monocrystalline or polycrystalline solar panels. So that's why they haven't been in the last 10 years, 15 years, making many upgrades, because there's so many disadvantages. Now they are trying to come up with a few things here and there, but ultimately, nah. The monocrystalline and polycrystalline tend to be a little more, a lot more efficient than these. But I will break down the advantages and disadvantages real quick, just so you know. Now, as far as the advantages, for companies mass producing them, it's pretty easy. Now, they can be made flexible, or they can be put in a frame that doesn't allow them to bend. They have high temperature and shading, have less impact on their performance. So even in certain situations, you can get decent production in low light, but that's based off of their efficiency. Now, the disadvantages is they have a very low space efficiency, which means they need more space in order to produce the same amount of energy that the mono or the poly would. These also, because they're flexible, tend to degrade faster than either or, the mono or poly. And generally these come with shorter warranties, only because the lifespan and how fast they degrade can't necessarily be guaranteed. Now, I'm not taking them completely out of the running, but I will say, it just kind of varies depending on the situation. Do you want efficiency, durability? Do you want to be able to use them for a long period of time? And also, you have to ask the question, is flexibility something that you're going to need? So these can come in handy in certain situations, but ultimately, I really can't say. It's up to you and your specific needs. Now, all three, thin, mono, and poly, they all can come in handy depending on the situation. And it depends on what you personally want. That's going to be the biggest thing. So as far as before, stuff hits the fan, and they come in all different sizes, all different wattages. So you can find them at 100 watts, 200 watts, as far as the mind can think, you can find them at different watts. Now, as far as something you're going to be carrying, generally, for if you're going to be charging, a portable power station, getting them in 60, 80, 100, or multiples of 100 watt panels, even up to 200, those are pretty carryable. You don't want to get into the heavier, bigger 400 or 500, because you're not going to be carrying them. Those are pretty much for a bug-in situation, or if you're going to be putting them on a roof of an RV, van, something like that, in order to charge on the go. Now, personally, this is my setup. This is generally what I carry around. Now, I have monocrystalline. I also have pretty much everything that's solar powered. I power everything from my tools to my lawnmower, and I have 3 different solar batteries that I carry with me, generally around 300 to 500 watt hours, and solar lights, different things like that. So for me, Solar is the way to go. A renewable, no noise. You don't need gas to power anything, therefore you're not going to draw as much attention. Now don't get me wrong. Now when you think about the different types of solar panels, you have solar panels that'll fold up and do whatever you want, literally. You have other ones that are just going to be a straight shot. Now understand, in an SHTF situation, you are going to need to know the weight of your solar panel, the types of portability, because of course you may have to move these things. Now if you're in a bug-in location, that doesn't really matter as much. But ultimately, you want to know what you're looking for. So this was more to inform you when you are searching for solar, if that is your choice, which one to go with: monocrystalline, polycrystalline, or thin film, just to make sure you get the most bang for your buck and the most efficiency for what you need. But what you need to understand is that convenience comes with a price. Generally, the ones that you can fold up and do all those things with the bells and whistles, those generally tend to be a lot more for the exact same amount of wattage. So on average, you could possibly get a 100-watt solar panel for ranging around between 70 to maybe even up to 100 for the panel. Now the same wattage in a foldable panel, I've seen them run 159, 179, all the way up to 300. It just depends on name brand and also looking at how portable it is. Because if you want that kind of portability, you want that kind of luxury, you're gonna have to spend on it. I myself prefer monocrystalline, but you know, that's up to you. So basically this is a brief overview as far as solar panels, what to look for, what not to look for, efficiency, so you can accurately understand solar power and also know what you're getting into. And always remember, if you're ready, you don't have to get ready. And if you enjoy the content, don't forget to like, comment, share, and of course subscribe. And if you would like to donate, you can hit me up in my Cash App at $Anubreed. I also have a Patreon that I'll be uploading a lot of survival information, stuff that's not quite long enough to make videos on, at patreon.com/Anubreed. So I want to thank you all, and as always, have a wonderful night. And if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.